Hello dear students, in this video I am going to explain the text of Robert Browning's poem My Last Duchess, and this is the explanation of the text part 2. Now on your screen you can see the text of the poem My Last Duchess. Or blush at least, she thanked man good, but thanked somehow, I know not how, as if she ranked my gift of a 900 years old name with anybody's gift. In our previous video, we have considered that what type of lady was the Duchess. She thanked everyone with her sweet smiles, or with gentle words, or with her kind gestures. Her smiles and blushes are ready for everyone, and she was a true child of the Renaissance period. She was a beauty loving woman, easily impressed and easily gayed. And she was one of those lovely women whose kindness and responsiveness are as natural as sunlight. And the Duke was so jealous that he could not relish the simple smile and childlike courtesy of the Duchess. So, here in the lines, he is mentioning the characteristics of her Duchess, and he is saying that she thanked man good, but thanked somehow, I know not how, as if she ranked my gift of a 900 years old name with anybody's gift. Here, the Duke considers his 900 years old name to be his greatest asset. The Duke is so arrogant that he never told the Duchess anything about his likes and dislikes. The ancestral pride of the Duke receives a jolt when the Duchess put him at par with others as regards her smile. Here he is saying that he considered similar my gift of 900 years name to the with the anybody's gift. And now he is in next line he is saying that who would stoop to blame this sort of trifling, even had you skill in speech which I have not. Here he is saying that an interlocutor or an envoy has skill in speech, but I as a duke I had not that skill in speech to make your will quite clear to such an one and say just this or that in you disgust me, here you miss or there exceed the mark. Here he is mentioning that the Duke is so arrogant that he never told the Duchess anything about his likes and dislikes. He considered it below his dignity to express displeasure at his wife's trifles, and that's why he is saying that who would stoop to blame this sort of trifling. He thinks that these are trivial things, and he considered the simplicity of his lady. He considered the simplicity of a lady like a very cheap thing, and he is saying that I had not the skill to uh, suggest or to advise or to direct my lady about the simple behavior that he is behaving with the servants, and he could have directed the Duchess to reserve her smiles only for him, whether to stoop or not to stoop. That was the question for the Duke to settle, and he decided never to stoop. Come what may. Make excuse to the Duchess means bend down of his dignity, but he decided never to bend down. And that's why in the next line he is saying that, and if she let herself be lessened so, nor plainly set her wits to yours, forsooth, and made excuse, even then would be some stooping. He thinks that directing the lady about his trifle activities, it is below the dignity of the Duke, and he thinks that and he says, and I choose never to stoop. The Duke boasts of the glory of his aristocratic dignity. He cannot tolerate his wife receiving everybody with a wan smile. He is a man of a skeptical nature. His mind is crowded with scorpions of suspicion, and he thinks that to direct the lady about her activities is to uh, bending down his dignity. Oh, sir, she smiled, no doubt, whenever I passed her. But who passed without much the same smile? He is discussing with the envoy and he is saying that it's okay to smile at me whenever I pass her. But the lady was so trifling activities that he would pass a smile with the same manner with the same manner to the servants of the palace also. This grew, and he is saying this grew. These two words indicate the activity of the lady's smile, and he says that I gave commands, then all smiles stopped together. So his cruelty is apparent in the cryptic account of the way in which he gave command. He says that I gave command and then all smiles stopped together. A writer, Robinson, called the line a tragedy in 5 words. The tragedy of a whole life concentrated within a little space. The line has been left intentionally enigmatic. We cannot say for certain how the smile stopped and what were the order he gave. Here we can assume that the Duke ordered that she should be put to death, and so the poor Duchess was murdered. There she stand as if alive, and now again he is back to the appreciation of the art, and he is saying that here he is here he she stands as if alive. She is indicating towards the painting, and now he is asking the envoy, will it please you rise? He is asking the envoy to stand up, and he is saying that we will meet the company below then. I repeat, the Count your master's known munificence is ample warrant that no just pretence of mine for dowry will be disallowed. The Duke was a greedy man. He cleverly lays down before the Count's messenger his expectation of rich dowry. The Duke puts forward his demand for rich dowry in a very cunning way. He tells the envoy that the Count's generosity is ample guarantee that all his claims regarding dowry will be accepted. The Duke cunningly says that his intention is only the fair and beautiful daughter of the Count, but his generosity is ample claim that he will not make any pretense of disallowing the dowry. The Duke thinks the dowry to be worthy of his status, and it is significant that Browning makes him speak first of dowry and then of the lady. As I avowed at starting is my object. Nay, we will go together down. And now he is down at the stairs with the envoy, and he is indicating the envoy that notice Neptune, though taming a seahorse, though a rarity, which clouds of Innsbruck cast in bronze for me. The Duke likes the bronze portrait of a sea god Neptune. Here is the mention of Neptune, that is a sea god, in which the sea god is taming a seahorse. It was done specially for the Duke by the great sculptor Claus of Innsbruck. So he is saying that this is a rare picture of bronze image of Neptune taming a seahorse, and which Claus of Innsbruck cast in bronze for me. And he is saying that this statue was made in bronze by Claus of Innsbruck, the artist, the sculptor, for me. It is an imaginary artist invented to impress the messenger, just as he had invented the name of the painter Fra Pandolf. The sea god controlling a seahorse aptly suggests the character of the Duke, who is fond of taming his wives. So, in this dramatic monologue, the poet is at very successfully mentioned the vivid picture of a good woman, and as well as the vivid character of the Duke, Walter Pater has called the poetry of Browning the poetry of situations, and it seems that while reading the poem, it seems that we are reading a story, a relationship of a husband and a wife. So, this is a perfect masterpiece of blank verse by Browning, and also dramatic monologue is used somewhere. The mention of Neptune and Klaus of Innsbruck sculptor and the painter Fra Pandolf is also made in this dramatic monologue. So that's all for today. Thank you all.